Hey YouTubians, it's Tony here from We Try Anything. Channel likes try anything, so you don't have to. As you can see from the screen behind me, it's towards the end of July, or what would be early August when you're watching this video, and I have got on there what I've worn during the month of July. And as you can see, it is the CASIO W-202 that I've got featured here. Now, the reason why I do a video which shows you what I've worn in a certain month over the period of a month is just so you get a better idea of these type of watches, because I do tend to do reviews of these watches, but they're just in a snapshot of time in which I get an idea of what they like to wear. But with the monthly ones, I get to know what they're like over 30 days or 31 days, and I can give you a more rounded opinion of what these watches are like. And also it gives me the opportunity to take a watch out of my watch box, dust it off, and just wear it and enjoy it for that month as well, and just see what it's like in overall, really. So that's the main reason. Now, what I've done here, I've just written some notes about this watch just to keep me on track and stop me talking about other things other than the watch in hand. So here we go. So this is an eBay purchase, and the reason why I buy watches off eBay is just so I get a better idea of what they're like or how they've worn over time. And what I can do is show you how these watches have worn over time. And I'll be honest with you, this watch has been fine, if anything. It's got a little bit of damage towards the case, and you can see it in some of the close-up shots that I'm going to show on this video. And also what I will say is I have created a review of this watch a couple of months ago, so if you've watched this review, then it will talk about some of the things that I've already talked about in this review, so just bear that in mind, if anything. And the other reason why I picked this watch, my previous watch that I reviewed in June, the strap had broke on that watch, which was a non-standard Casio strap, and in between that I picked this up, got it out of my drawer and put this on for a couple of days, and I enjoyed wearing it so much that I just thought I'd feature it in July, or I'd wear it along the month of July, and that's the reason why, really. That's why I'm featuring it so close to the review that I've done. So what's it been like in terms of comfort? Over the 31 days, I've got to be honest with you, it's been phenomenal. It's gone on my wrist no problem. There's been no inhibition of my hand movement or anything like that, and as I've said in the review video, it's just been comfortable to wear, and it has been over that extended period of time. I mean, the strap, I've got to be honest with you, with the strap is really long on this watch, and I'm just going to pop a few dimensions here and you can see how long this strap is. And on my wrist it goes to about the third hole down, and I've got to be honest with you, it's not been too tight or too loose like a lot of watches I have worn on the channel, but in this instance it's been very easy to wear, and with it being a resin strap watch, it's been very comfortable on the wrist. I've got to say, it's been phenomenal. And my wrist, just for people out there who need to know, it's about 6.5 inches, and I'm writing down what the circumference is in millimeters underneath, just to give you an idea. But as I've said, I've put the dimensions of the actual watch just so you can see how big this watch is. And I've got to be honest with you, as I've mentioned, there's no hand inhibition, it hasn't got in the way, it hasn't been uncomfortable to wear, and if anything, with it being 25 grams, it's been very lightweight watch to put on the wrist as well, to the point I've tended to forget that I'm wearing it, so it's been great, to be fair. And it is along the same lines as what would be the F91W, the Casio F105, the Casio W86H, which is probably one of my favourites out of the what I would call the small form factor range of Casios, and this is up there with that W86 in terms of comfort as well, and some of the functions I'm going to mention later on in terms of how usable it is as well. I've had no problems wearing it with long sleeve tops or anything, it's just glided over it. Not that it's because obviously we're in the warmer months of the year, I haven't really had much need, but if I've had to wear a coat or, well, a hoodie, because obviously this summer's not been the best in terms of the UK's weather, it's glided over, it's never caught up. I've never had any problems getting the what would be the long sleeve top over the watch. If anything, it's just glided over, so it's been phenomenal in that aspect, and I've had no problem wearing it. It's just been great. So that's what it's been like in terms of wearability over the 31 days. It's been absolutely phenomenal. And if you have got a watch or a small form factor Casio like the F91W, F105, W86, etc., it's pretty much the same, really. So if you are looking for something that's just along the same sizes and it's got the same sort of wear, but you want something a little different, then I would say this watch is up there in terms of something else to choose if you do like them smaller form factor watches from Casio. So great watch to wear. In terms of the design and the display, I'll be honest with you, it is a bit different to the usual Casios that I've just mentioned in terms it's not a square, it's got the curves to the sides, but I'll be honest with you, it gives it that nice retro vibe. I know the F91 is something that you would associate with retro and the 80s and stuff like that, but this, it does feel a lot more retro than that. And in terms of how it looks, I've got to say, it has a nice bit of interest to it as well. And the decals don't shout on it either. I mean, obviously Casio likes to say that this watch has an illuminator, and it also likes to say it's water resistance, which in this aspect is 50 meters, which is another handy little feature of this watch. But it's not shouting or anything like that, so it doesn't detract away from the overall look and the appeal of the watch. And I've got to say, in the overall, this watch looks great on the wrist. It really does wear well, and I just love the curvature of either sides of the watches, and also the little pushes. They don't stick out too much. You don't accidentally press anything. But the only thing I will say with the pusher being on this top left hand corner, with it being recessed, it can be a little bit of a fiddle when you are looking to adjust the date and time, or also reset the countdown timer or the stopwatch if you want to reset it to 0. It can be a little bit of a fiddle when it's on the wrist, so just bear that in mind if you are thinking about this, because they have recessed that button just there. But otherwise, in terms of the way the overall design of the watch, fantastic as well. I just love the way it wears on the wrist. Its display, I've got to say, because of the way the font is, that it's got a nice thick font to it, or typeface as it were, like a nice LCD display typeface, and it's nice and thick and very, very easy to read. And I do prefer the way this looks over some of those watches I've mentioned, which is again F91W, 105, W86, etc. I do prefer the display on this, and also it's not hindered by any kind of animations or any graphics or anything, and it is just plain, and there's a lot of information on there that you can just glean at a moment's notice. Like, for example, obviously you got the day of the week, the month within the year, the dates within the month, and also you've got the time. Very easy to understand and very simple. And also, as I say, with that thick typeface, it's just very easy to read. But other than that, yeah, phenomenal, great display. And as you cycle through some of the modes, you also get the local timer at the top. If you are looking to do what would be the countdown timer and the stopwatch, you get the local time, which you don't get on them smaller form factor watches like the F91W. You just get, obviously it's just either blank or something like that from memory, but with this one you get the local time, which is another little great added feature of this watch. I just really did enjoy wearing this watch. The other thing to mention is the backlight display, and if you have watched my review, which I posted a couple of months ago, it's pretty much the same. It's got two LEDs which are activated to the top right hand corner, and the two LEDs are positioned either side, and they are amber LEDs, and I've got to say, it lights that watch up brilliantly, especially the backlit display. It just lights up that LCD display really well. And also it's got like not an auto light function, but it's got a function which you can turn on by just keep pressing, I think it's the bottom right hand button. And what that means is when the alarm goes off or the countdown timer reaches 0 and the alarm kind of pings to tell you that you've reached the end of your countdown time, or obviously the early signal, the actual backlight LEDs will flash to make you aware that the alarm's sounding or the countdown time has reached 0, which is a handy little thing if people who rely more on sight than sound, really. And I do think that's a nice little added feature to this watch, and especially, you know, with it being quite a nice bright LED backlight, I've got to say, I think that's a great little part of this watch that you don't get on some of the other smaller form factor watches that I have featured on the channel. So a nice little feature there. And really, in terms of the display, as I've mentioned, it's easy to read and super simple, and the watch is really easy to operate as well. Now, I've done a tutorial video on this watch as well, so it's linked to in the description box below. It'll show you how to use this watch if you have got one. Now, just quickly going on to the features and functions of this watch, I have mentioned a few of them already. This is where the watch shines over some of the other watches I mentioned, and I'll just quickly say them again: F91W, F105, W86 and the like, all of which I've linked to in the description box below. And it really does outshine a lot of them watches, and I would imagine I had a choice of them watches. It's definitely, for the functions that this watch has got, I would probably pick this over a lot of the ones that I've just mentioned. It's got a single multifunction alarm with an early signal, and also when you do turn that backlight on, it will flash as well if you do turn the kind of auto light function on. The countdown timer alarm will count down from 20 24 hours, which you can set yourself from. I believe you can set a second, or you can set it up to 24 hours for it to count down from. And that has also got what's known as an auto repeat function. So if you're into interval training, then you could set this watch up so you could do, say for example, 5 minutes of high intensity training and 5 minutes cool down. It'll just keep repeating the countdown timer that you've set, as long as you turn the auto repeat on. So again, it's great for sports people as well. It's got a stopwatch that will measure up to 24 hours, and it does split time and first and second times as well, which is you know, it's a feature that is on a lot of Casios that I've reviewed on the channel, but it's just a nice little addition to this watch. So with all that mentioned, what was it like overall? And I've just written here, great comfortable watch to wear over the 31 days. Easy to read, easy to understand, and super simple to operate. I mean, there is a lot of functions to that watch, which I've just put down. There is a lot of functions to this watch, but once you get used to them, you'll find it so easy to understand. Now for me, it went over my head really. I just wear a watch for time. I also just wear a watch, maybe the odd alarm, but I have got my smartphone for that kind of feature really. But for a stopwatch, if you're doing dinner and stuff like that, counting time, it is handy to have that on the wrist without having to fiddle around with your smartphone. So it is a handy little feature to have. And also, I just thought the design was great. It was a nice change from some of the other more iconic or more popular watches from Casio. And over the 31 days, it has been phenomenal to wear. Very comfortable. And I would imagine because of the amount of holes that this, or the amount of adjustability that this watch has got in terms of the amount of holes, it should fit a lot of bigger wrists. I'd be very surprised if it didn't. But on my 6.5 inch wrist, it was fine. And out of all the smaller Casios I've mentioned in this video, I've got to say it's up there as one of my favourites. Now, I love the F191W, the F105 and the W86H, and some of the other smaller form factor watches that I've mentioned or have shown on the channel, but this one is probably up there in terms of a great does it all kind of watch. And the form, the functions, and everything that this watch has got, I think it's a watch that if you are after a small cased watch, which, well, I'd say small to medium sized case watch that fits on your wrist, and it just does timers, stopwatch, countdown alarm, has a great backlight, 50 meters of water resistance so you can wash the car and do the dishes, go for a bath, go for a shower without worrying, then I would definitely look at the CASIO W-202. And after the 31 days that I've worn it, I didn't really want to take it off. And I've got to say, I know I do say that with a lot of these type of size watches, but in this instance, it just had everything. And it was that display for me that won me over, because it was just so easy to read, even at a distance. I just think that if you are looking at a watch like this and you are tempted with the CASIO W-202, I don't think you'll put it down, and I don't think you'll be disappointed if you were to buy one today. I just think it's such a great watch. So that's what I think with the CASIO W-202. As I said, I did do a review of it quite recently and a tutorial, but I just had to put it on my wrist because I enjoyed doing the review for that watch, and I've got to say it was a watch I didn't want to take off my wrist. I just think it is such a great watch. So I hope this kind of 31-day review has helped you in some way, and if it has, then please click on the thumbs up. It always helps the channel. If you want to see more videos from the We Try Anything channel, then please click on the subscription button below. And thank you for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Goodbye.